Good morning. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, hundreds of millions of Americans are in the path of two winter storms bringing snow, ice, and freezing temperatures across the country. The ice is weighing down power lines, causing transformers to ignite and leaving nearly 3 million people in the dark. The roads are also a mess with snow and ice sending big rigs sliding. 43 states are now on alert, including states in the deep south, bracing for some of the coldest temperatures in decades. And the pace of U.S. COVID vaccinations is picking up. More than 38 million people in the U.S. have now received at least one dose of the vaccine as concerns grow about coronavirus mutations. The U.K. variant could not only be more contagious, but now we're learning it could also be deadlier. And scientists have identified 7 new strains of the virus originating in the U.S.
It's great to see the vaccine numbers really ramp up. I do think all the evidence says that the U.K. variant clearly susceptible to our vaccine. So the race right now is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible.
COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are still dropping in the U.S. from their peak numbers in the middle of January, but the CDC says now is not the time to let our guard down. And the Department of Health and Human Services is reopening Obamacare enrollment for healthcare on healthcare.gov today. The move will give new health insurance options to Americans who lost their jobs and employer-based insurance during the pandemic. Roughly 9 million uninsured Americans qualify for free or subsidized health care. The special enrollment period ends May 15th. But we begin with the acquittal of former President Trump in his second impeachment trial. 7 Republican senators voted along with Democrats to convict Trump. That fell short of the 2/3 majority needed. Lawmakers are now pushing for a 9/11-style commission to investigate the Capitol insurrection. ABC News political director Rick Klein joins me now for more. Rick, some of the Republicans who voted to convict Trump are now facing backlash. Senator Bill Cassidy has been censured by the Louisiana GOP. That's just one example. What does this mean for the future of the Republican Party?
It means that being done with impeachment doesn't mean being done with the consequences of President Trump. He has driven a real division, a spike through the Republican Party, reflected by the fact that you had this record number, 7 Republican senators vote to convict, 10 did so in the House. It means primary challenges. It means threats. It means an ex-president who now, by all accounts, is fixated on political revenge. And it means a Republican Party that doesn't know its path forward. It has been split wide open by this, by President Trump, by the aftermath of the election, by this impeachment trial itself, and it is no closer to being healed, to being united today. A lot of the party official organs continue to raise money on the idea of impeachment, even though, of course, we had this record number of Republicans just support it.
And there's now talk of a 9/11-style commission to investigate the siege. What's the likelihood of that actually forming, and what kinds of things would a commission like this look into?
Yeah, I think it's likely to happen because now that we're past impeachment, censure really is fading as a viable option. Speaker Pelosi among those saying it really doesn't even make sense to pursue it. So instead, you have an opportunity here to get some real answers. And I was struck covering this impeachment trial how many unanswered questions there are. The surprise information from a Republican congresswoman that derailed things on Saturday morning, just one example. You want to know what Kevin McCarthy was saying to the White House, what Mike Pence was saying and hearing. You want to know, frankly, what was security posture happened to allow this to occur, to allow it to go as long as it did. It remains shocking 5 weeks later how long the siege took place, how violent and awful it was. There are so many answers. I think it matters for political accountability as well as, I think, security measures and coordination of different forces. So this seems big enough to warrant a commission like that, and I think it's probably going to come together in the coming days.
And Rick, do you think the contentious nature of the trial could affect President Biden's hopes for a bipartisan COVID relief bill and immigration reform, among other things on his agenda?
Well, sure. But another way is that this President's Day, Biden gets his presidency back. This has been hanging over everything that he has done for the first 3+ weeks in office. He's going to be on the road a few times this week for the first time as president, drumming up support for COVID relief. And he has tried to stay as far away as possible from impeachment. He has been pursuing the COVID relief legislation, pursuing a legislative agenda. And frankly, one of the decisions that went into, one of the factors that went into the decision to not have witnesses was that Democrats recognized that the Biden agenda is stronger as soon as you get on the other side of impeachment. Yes, this drove Republicans apart. It also, though, brought a lot of people to their partisan corners, and it just consumed a lot of oxygen, a lot of energy on the Senate floor. That's done now. So Biden, I wouldn't say he gets to start fresh, but he does get to at least have the field more to himself as he makes a case for COVID relief and other top priorities.
And then what about former President Trump? What happens for him now that this trial is over?
Yeah, I mean, look, the biggest actual consequence of this acquittal is that he can run for office again, and he's going to make noises about it. There's no doubt about it. People are going to be looking for signals from him. The CPAC conference, the conservative conference later this month, we now know is going to include Don Jr., among others. They're going to make noises about Trump making a comeback, though in the meantime, I think a lot of focus around Trump world is going to be how to exact political retribution for Republicans who, in their mind, betrayed him. Are there primary challenges afoot? How can he channel that energy? He will raise a lot of money. I don't expect that he's going to run again in 2024, but I also don't expect, Diane, that he's going to say so anytime soon.
All right, Rick Klein in Washington for us. Thank you. And Justin Timberlake is issuing a public apology to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson for, quote, missteps he says contributed to a, quote, system that condones misogyny and racism. Fans are now rallying behind both Jackson and Spears, so much so that Jackson's album Control is topping the charts again 35 years after its release. Our Janae Norman has the details.
Pop icon Janet Jackson taking to social media, thanking her nearly 4 million fans for supporting her album and making it #1 more than 3 decades after it was first released.
Never in a million years, I would never think that this would happen. I really appreciate you, and I love you so much. Thank you.
Jackson making no mention of Justin Timberlake after his lengthy apology over the weekend, writing, "I am deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right. I specifically want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, both individually, because I care for and respect these women, and I know I failed."
Understandably, some people might point out that, both deserve, an entirely separate apology. And I think doing it all at once and, saying that this speaks to a culture of misogyny that he helped perpetuate, he's not wrong that the two are connected.
Timberlake, in part, apologizing for the 2004 Super Bowl halftime appearance, ending in that infamous wardrobe malfunction and an FCC investigation. Jackson receiving the brunt of the backlash, allegedly banned from other appearances and removed from projects, while Timberlake was invited back to the Super Bowl, performing the halftime show again in 2018. While staying mostly silent over the years, Jackson did express some disappointment in Timberlake over the ordeal in a 2006 interview with Oprah.
Like I said, friendship is very important to me, and certain things you just don't do to friends.
Yeah.
And in my own time, I'll give her hanging.
So you do feel that he left you hanging?
To a certain degree.
Timberlake's post prompted in part by the fallout following the recently released New York Times documentary Framing Britney Spears that takes a closer look at her conservatorship and the way she's been treated throughout her career.
Justin sort of made it seem, rightly or wrongly, like she had cheated on him. It really seemed like he took control of the narrative.
Spears and Timberlake famously becoming one of pop music's biggest couples in the late 90s before splitting in 2002. Timberlake releasing the video for his chart-topping hit Cry Me a River, painting Spears as a heartbreaking cheater.
I don't have any doubt that he would have been famous and stayed famous if not for these two incidents. But he did absolutely was able to skate by unscathed, in these, with the Britney breakup and the Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction. If he had been a woman, that would not have been the case.
And in his apology, Timberlake saying that the industry is flawed and designed to set white men up for success, saying, quote, "As a man in a privileged position, I have to be vocal about this. Because of my ignorance, I didn't recognize it for all that it was while it was happening in my own life, but I do not want to ever benefit from others being pulled down again. I can do better and I will do better." Britney has yet to respond. Diane.
Janae Norman, thank you for that. And let's break this down a little bit more with ABC News contributor and SiriusXM radio host Mike Buse. Mike, good morning. You know, the things Timberlake is apologizing for happened 15-plus years ago. So what do you think's the significance and the importance of this apology coming now?
Diane, there is no significance. There is no importance to it. It is not sincere. It is inauthentic. I find it very interesting now that Justin Timberlake chooses to apologize to Janet Jackson and Britney Spears after this Britney Spears documentary has come out, which was so troubling. And my heart goes out to Britney Spears and how she was treated in the media. But all of a sudden, there was a Free Britney tweet and hashtag that was occurring. And within 1 week, Justin Timberlake is apologizing. But yet, Justice for Janet Jackson has been tweeting and trending for the last, 10 years? And there's no apology. So I definitely think there's a double standard there. I definitely think Justin Timberlake is only thinking about his brand.
Now, Janet Jackson is seeing huge spikes in album sales after this apology. Why do you think that is? And are there any estimates of what she lost due to the Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction controversy?
I think she's receiving a huge spike because she's back into the conversation. I think anytime an artist gets back into the conversation, there's an interest in their music. There's a curiosity of what was happening in that moment. In terms of what she lost millions, not only just in dollars, but she lost her brand. She lost her position within pop culture. That's why I think this is so different between Britney and between Janet. Britney has to do with misogyny, and Janet has to do with race. Justin Timberlake has always held proximity to black culture. Justin Timberlake was how he released his first single. It was rooted in black culture. He talks about his influences are within the black culture and black cultural space. But too often we've seen Justin Timberlake be at their side when it's time for Black Lives Matter to really be engaged. He was silent on many of those issues. So the fact that he let this black woman essentially hang out to dry when he was equally culpable of it as well, but he completely was dismissive of it. And yet he had the chance to go along and have a fantastic career, perform at the Super Bowls while she was shunned from media, while she was shunned from platforms, when she was shunned from MTV, and he sat and he held silent. The misogyny of Britney is really interesting, Diane, because when you think about it, the audience that is Britney Spears is majority white women and white girls. Those are the same demographics that was with NSYNC. So they have grown up with Justin Timberlake. So he's literally thinking about the economics of him. Justin Timberlake's brand isn't what it was. And so he can't afford to take too many hits within the media and within the press to lose any marginal amount of fans. That's why the nuance of this comes down to race and misogyny.
Is there anything that, I mean, clearly his apology was not enough for you. Do you think there is anything that he could say or do at this point to reflect that he now looks back on what happened, he learned from it, he regrets it, and he wants to genuinely do better and do what he can to fix it?
Diane, you know me. I'm all about allowing people grace and giving people the opportunity to grow within themselves. But here's why I'm just so not settled with that aspect is because of the time gap. It's almost over 15 years from Janet when all these hashtags have been trending. Every time Super Bowl comes up, Janet Jackson's name comes up. My concern, the uneasiness of it, is how swiftly that he was willing to apologize to Britney Spears. It's uncomfortable to say, Diane, but you can't erase the optics of it all. A white woman who was held in such regard in media is now known to have done harm by the media and those in position, and then the white man with his privilege comes in and apologizes to her within the week of this all coming together. But yet he sat so silent for almost 15 years when a black woman was literally getting thrown under the bus time and time again. That is the uncomfortable conversation to have, but that is why it's so difficult for me to give him grace. So just as he took 13 years or 15 years, maybe I'll do the same another 13 and 15 years to give him grace.
So as you mentioned, this whole thing is sparked by the New York Times documentary on Britney Spears. It focuses on her conservatorship, but it unpacks, among other things, the way that she was blamed for her breakup with Justin Timberlake, also the way that she was treated by the paparazzi and the press. So do you think this could be a turning point in how we as a society treat celebrities in general, but particularly young women?
Yes, and particularly Diane, young women. I was looking at that documentary and I was cringing at myself, right? Like the pain that Britney Spears was experiencing. And here's what's also so troubling about it. Britney Spears was crying out for help. She was crying out in pain right there on television, right in the media, and no one did anything about it. They piled onto her, talked about the sexual exploitation of her, blamed her. The governor's wife of Maryland said that she wanted to shoot Britney. That got to me that was even able to be said without any repercussion to that governor's wife. I hope the lessons now are that celebrities are humans, in particular young women of adolescence are growing up, discovering self, going through self-identity, and what they don't need is for grown adults to be ridiculing them in public as to how they should be as young women, as who they should be as women, and how they should act and behave, and to treat them with that. The media and people hold a lot of responsibility to the mental health that was cost to Britney Spears. So I hope, Diane, the lesson to be learned is they are humans, and to be mindful that they're just growing and finding their voice, just as we all did, Diane, when we were 19, 20, 21, 22. Thank God Instagram wasn't around when I was 19.
I agree with that. Mike Muse, thank you as always. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for The Breakdown.
I'm an advocate, and I represent the United States government, and I'll do it the best I can.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.